All right, hello everybody, and welcome to the Dedicated Show. Today we're going to talk about how to love your dashboard. We have two special guests with us today. We have Cathy Herbert and Bryan Zwahlen from Arria NLG. As you're joining the session, we have a question for you. Are you familiar with NLG? It stands for Natural Language Generation. So let us know in the comments as you're joining. Tell us where you're tuning in from. Tell us if you're familiar with NLG. If you have questions throughout the session, definitely go ahead and put those in the comments. And Aria is kind enough to provide a fun giveaway for us today. So we're going to select 2 lucky winners to receive some Aria swag. I believe they're t-shirts. We're going to confirm that when we bring up our speakers. But for now, just type in hashtag Aria. I'm going to let you see this on screen here. Type in hashtag Aria as you're joining the session so you can enter the raffle. And we're going to announce one winner probably around the halfway mark, and then another winner at the end of the show. All right, I'm going to go ahead and bring up our special guest here. We've got Cathy, we've got Bryan. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me here on the Dedicated Show. I know we're going to talk about how to love your dashboard. We're going to talk about some BI trends to expect for the rest of the year and moving forward. But before we get into all of that, I think it would be great to start with some introductions. So, Cathy, if we start with you, if you could tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My name's Cathy Herbert, and I'm in charge of partner and customer enablement at Aria. So I work with the pre-sales teams. We work with our partners to be able to deploy Aria solutions for clients. Just a little bit about me. I was in enterprise content management for a really long time, and then decided to make the move from storing and managing content into automatically generating content. So it's been a fun past few years working at Aria.
Great. I love when people describe their careers as fun. I think that's always a win. So that's good. Awesome. And Bryan, let's do an introduction for you, please.
Sure. Thanks. Hi, everybody. So Bryan Zwahlen, I manage customer success at Aria. That's one of my main job functions here. Been doing customer success for like 20 plus years. And really love working with our customers, understanding their needs and seeing how they develop NLG solutions really in a lot of creative ways that helps us help other customers, as well as I work with partnerships and I do customer support. So that's all the joy that I have to do at Aria. And then, of course, there's a lot of cross-job or cross-function communications that support all of our customers and partners. So it's great to be able to work with our international team, and I'll talk a little bit about that with when I start to describe who Aria is. And then I didn't get to hear Cathy, what she was saying, because I have a little technical issue, which I'll fix in a moment.
Yeah.
But I think you said something fun about it. So I don't know, fun. I have a lot of interests. I'm a photographer. This background behind me is not a real brick wall. That's something I use when I take portraits of people. So there you go.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I know, Bryan, we did have a couple of technical difficulties. If you want to go ahead and do the quick refresh, we can go to the comments for now, and then we'll wait for you if you want to
I'll do that.
Okay.
All right.
Great. So, Cathy, let's just check in and see who's joined us here. We've got Raymond saying good morning, Kevin from South Carolina, and he is familiar with NLG. That's awesome. We have Vildan, who is from Texas and is kind of familiar. Okay, that's great. Bryan, you're back. That was fast. We
fast, and I can see Cathy. Hi, Cathy.
Hi, Bryan.
Can you hear Cathy too, or no?
And I can hear Cathy.
Wow, that's amazing. Perfect. We were just reading through some of the comments of people who've joined. So Scott, he says at a hospital he worked and learned Aria data and built dashboards to improve patient care. So that's cool. Always great to have that. Susan's here. She's the classification guru. Awesome. And I see lots of folks are joining in. Before we get into it, quick reminder to type in hashtag Aria to participate and win a cool t-shirt like Bryan is wearing. See, you too. I'm gonna put my hashtag in there as well. That's a I want to try to win. Okay, great. I think we can go ahead and get started here. And Bryan, for those who are not familiar with Aria, I think it'll be helpful to maybe set some groundwork and let people know, what does Aria do? What clients do you serve? What areas do you serve your clients in?
Oh, super. Love to talk about Aria. So I think we all know that Aria does natural language generation. And I'm going to start at a high level to say that Aria believes that humanity is really defined by language, right? You think about it, language separates us from the rest of the animal kingdom. And we want to ensure that the heart of humanity, or that humanity remains at the heart of artificial intelligence. And we're hoping that through our NLG applications, our technology, that we empower people to know more and then to be more. Really, that's our goal. We want to see NLG everywhere. And so Aria has the highest concentration of NLG expertise, led by our two chief scientists, Dr. Ehud Reiter and Dr. Yazir Sapata. They're two of the leading figures internationally in the NLG space. They still run a PhD program at the University of Aberdeen in Scotland. And many of those PhD students join our development team, which is also in Aberdeen, Scotland, which is really cool. So I was mentioning, I get to talk to a lot of people overseas and work with that group, as well as Cathy does. And then we have 40 core patents around our technology. So really, I have a very high level of expertise. And you're going to get to see our platform in a moment when Cathy gives a demonstration. And then I talked about our office locations, but I can talk a little bit about our customer base. Mm-hmm. So we have several industries, but I think the largest groups of industries are basically the pharmaceutical industry, financial services, another great place for use of automation for reporting, and then advertising and news and media, which is interesting, right? So maybe people have heard of robo-journalism. So I could just kind of briefly touch on that. The BBC used our application covering the last UK elections. So they were able to write some 700 news articles down to the local constituent level, which you really can't do without the aid of artificial intelligence.
Wow, that's really, really impressive. I didn't know this. Okay, that's really cool. And Cathy, I'm hoping you can clear this up for some folks that are joining that are not familiar with NLG technology. What is it really, and how do we use this technology?
Sure. Natural language generation is part of the artificial intelligence umbrella. So you have NLG, NLP, NLQ, and machine learning really all fall under the umbrella of artificial intelligence. And what NLG gives you is the ability to take structured data, and it could be structured data from your dashboard, it could be structured data from other places, and at the push of a button, generate spoken narratives from that data set, or the types of narratives that a human would write with the type of intelligence that a human would put into writing that narrative.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And why would we need something like this, right? Why can't we just get data? What's wrong with just getting data sent to us? Why do we need natural language?
As I was thinking and preparing for this session, right, I kind of went back in history and said, gee, when I started my career, we were looking at sysouts, and then we were looking at rows and columns of data, and they're just really hard to digest. So in the 1970s, dashboards came to market, and they were really designed as decision support systems, as kind of the forerunner for the BI tools we know today, so that corporate executives could understand what's going on in their data. And we're going to show you a demo today that really brings you to that next level, where Aria gives you the ability to answer questions for your executives. So why do we look at dashboards? We look at them because we want to understand what happened year over year, quarter over quarter, and what drove that. We want to understand what are trends and outliers that I want to look at. So artificial intelligence layered on top of a dashboard gives you that next level of understanding that's important to the business.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. So dashboards are useful to an extent, right? Where we can see, like you mentioned, the trends, the outliers, but it's that added level of the narrative that can go along with it. So you can remove any confusion or misinterpretation of that data.
Yeah. Right. You'll understand what's happening faster, right? So it doesn't take time to try to interpret, and everybody gets the same message across.
Yeah, it's kind of like, tell me what I'm looking at, right? Without you having to stand there and say, well, this is, let me explain to you what happened here. We do have a question that just came in from George Ferrick, and he's asking, is Aria currently just focused on English, or can you use this with other languages as well?
Absolutely, you can use it with other languages, and we have customers who have written narratives in Spanish, in German, in kanji. So we support 128 data sets, and you can generate NLG, in any, pretty much most of the languages that you'd be looking at generating.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Now, I know most companies currently work with dashboards, right? For the most part, at least the ones I've worked with, they tend to be familiar with dashboards. They use dashboards. What is a challenge that is faced by organizations that are currently working with just dashboards that have not moved on to incorporating NLG into that process?
We have one customer, and they distribute. I don't want to tell too much, but they distribute. Let's just say they distribute items, and they have to make sure they have enough items to send out when they need to send them out. And they said they have a great dashboard, but only 30% of the managers would walk into the office and really understand what the visuals were telling them. So it really wasn't getting the job done for them. I mean, it was for the 30% that had been there for a really long time and knew how to interpret the visuals. But they said when they were able to layer the information on top, now, all 100 managers were able to go in and understand for their facility what they needed to make available, because it just rose those actionable insights, became very obvious. The other benefit of, when we're looking at some of the challenges companies have, why do we have a dashboard? We have a dashboard to really understand our data better. And what we end up doing is having analysts looking at the dashboards, digging into the dashboards and writing reports, which is really time consuming. So Arria can be used as a tool to grab that data, underlying data in the dashboard, and automatically create those PowerPoints or create those narratives that our business analysts are spending a lot of time creating today. And by using Aria, it frees them up to do, high value tasks.
I'd like to add another example, Cathy, sorry, with another customer, we won't name the customer, but a major blood collection agency. Everybody knows who they are probably. And they have issues with collecting blood, obviously a lot of challenges. And one of the challenges in their dashboard is that there are probably 27 somewhat reasons why a phlebotomy would fail, why they couldn't collect the blood or use the blood. And it's a lot of reasons. And then in their attempts to show that in a traditional dashboard with just charts and graphs, they ended up making tab after tab after tab after tab, blah, blah, blah. And what was happening were the managers and responsible for those collection centers just were so busy, so pressured, right? And they just didn't have time to go through past the first tab. So with NLG, they were able to tell them exactly what was going on, and then they were able to do prescriptive analytics using NLG to say what they should be doing about it.
That's a really powerful example. Thank you for sharing that. As we keep having this conversation, I think maybe either Kevin, I don't know if you missed the beginning, but maybe we can reiterate, what exactly does Aria do? let's go through that again to reset that stage.
Sure. Aria gives you the ability to take structured data and generate narratives from it. So it could be a report, it could be a story. Aria has intelligent narratives that we automatically generate, that if you're looking at data and you want to understand, what are the trends in performance that my data are showing that I need to be looking at, or what's happening year over year, quarter over quarter, month over month, or how am I doing against my target projections, right? My actual versus target. You've got the ability with Aria to feed in structured data and automatically generate narrative.
Okay, got it. I think that's a really good explanation. And I see Lindsay popped in the chat as well. Take structured data, transform that into language. I think, would it be fair to say that if you had data and you uploaded it into, do you upload this into Aria, or what would be, I guess, the process that, let's say I have structured data and I want natural language generated?
Sure. I mean, Aria works with dashboards. We also work outside of dashboards. So if you're grabbing data that's in a SQL database and you want to automatically generate a report, you would be able to use our RESTful API, right, to send data to our RESTful API, and we will return that fully written report for you. Within the dashboards, we're going to show this in a minute, we've got the ability for you to we have an add-in that will let you select the underlying data that you're interested in, tell it the type of narrative that you want to generate, and will automatically generate that narrative. So we pass the data to Aria. Aria returns a narrative within your BI tool, native to the tool, and we give you the narrative back.
That sounds really good. I had a use case for something like this back at a company I worked for, where we generated the same statements over and over every week. I think at the beginning of the week of, how much did we make in revenue? Which companies were the top, winners for that week or something? And it took a long time because we had to look at that data. We had to analyze that data, look at the dashboard, and then type out the narrative every time. Revenue went up by 8%, revenue went down by 2%. I could see a lot of time being saved with just using NLG with Aria. We have several questions that came in, but first,
okay,
Bryan.
I was going to just say on that one point there, so that's a really robotic task that a human shouldn't have to do, right? So that's why you want to automate something like that, and it gets done really fast, and then you can have it on demand.
Yes, absolutely. I know some humans would prefer robotic tasks, but most would not. Most like to be creative, I think, and work on fun things. In terms of structured data, Scott is asking, how structured does the data need to be?
So fairly structured, and I think probably that takes a longer conversation, right? I mean, we can take unstructured data, run it through NLP, right, and grab structured data from it and then feed that into Aria. But if you've got some unstructured data within a table, say it's a description of a pharmaceutical product, and you want to use that within your narrative, you would be able to. So I mean, we're really looking for structured data in the use cases that we're solving for.
All right, thank you. A question here from Mark Bradley, and he's asking, do you offer white label options for SaaS solutions?
We do. One of the things, I mean, and this is really getting kind of more into our technology, but we have add-ins. We're going to talk about this, but we have add-ins for Tableau, Power BI, Click, MicroStrategy, TIBCO Spotfire. And, once we had written our first, we decided, okay, let's make it easy on ourselves to add add NLG everywhere, right? To be able to add it to any app with data. So now that you're starting to generate narrative, and we came up with an SDK called Connect. So, Connect was really meant to be that white label, potentially help us with white labeling NLG into another application.
Yeah, and I know you're going to show a demo of that later on, but the companies that you worked with, I think you mentioned Tableau, Power BI, Spotfire. Did I miss any?
MicroStrategy and Click.
MicroStrategy and Click. Okay, got it. Yeah, those are a lot of companies that you've brought on. So I think that's really cool. Take another question here from Ravid, and he's got a question here. What are the two best features of Aria that sets it apart from other? Well, I guess you're not dashboard builders, but I guess what sets you apart from your competitors? And since we're asking for two best features, maybe we can have each one of you name your favorite feature.
I could start with that. I could say that we probably have the most flexible deployment options. So sometimes hosting in a public cloud with a multi-tenant environment is fine for a lot of industries. Some industries might want to have their data maybe in a more secured location. So we also offer a private cloud instance where there's a single tenant, and then therefore you can set up single sign-on, like SSO using Okta or Active Directory, or you could even host it behind your own firewall.
Okay, so flexibility. Got it. Kathy, your favorite
Yeah,
feature?
and I would say, in addition to having the out of the box capability, we also allow users using our studio platform to create custom narratives. And that's been really important to our user community, where they want to really control the language. They want to be able to go update the language. They want to update their projects, and not have to come back to us all the time to do it. So Studio is a big differentiator, and it's what we built all of our NLG on, is the Studio platform.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. I think, Bryan, in the beginning, you mentioned a couple of industries that Aria works in, and financial services, I believe, was one of the areas you mentioned. So there's a question here, and it's, have you had interest from financial asset managers who want to automate the commentary on their fund fact sheets and investment reports?
Wow, what a great, powerful use case that is. And yes, we actually have developed that with customers just for that particular application. So you've already nailed it on the head. You realize that having that information in real time is going to be critical to your mission. Mm-hmm. So you've nailed it.
Perfect. Questions just are flying in. I love this. It's always fun when the audience is really engaged. So guys, I really appreciate, keep the questions coming. The question here is, do users have to give targeted OKRs and important metrics in order to track, or will Aria have its own, built-in metrics, insights, visuals that give you an input? I actually had a similar question in my mind when we were talking about how the process works. How does Aria know what's important? Like, how does it know what narrative to give you?
There are 8 different narratives that you have the ability to choose from. And then within those narratives, you can choose the verbosity that you want. So tell me everything, tell me the important things. And then we also have options within each of the out-of-the-box narratives that would say, I want to know the top 3 outliers, right? The top 3 things are important to me, or the top 5% or 10% or 50%. Because what we found is that our customers, when they were building custom projects, they were coming back to us and saying, how do I set thresholds? So we put thresholds right into our intelligent narratives.
And what Cathy just touched on was the out-of-the-box solutions that we have. These are pre-built NLG models, but she also touched on a little bit earlier that you can customize and develop your own NLG. So if you think about it, NLG is a very deterministic type of technology in that you can shape the model to get the knowledge from that information, from that data set that's important to you or to your audience that you're giving that message to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's very powerful. And drilling down a bit further, can you customize the narrative so that depending on what user is reading it, they get a narrative that matches their style?
That's basically what I just touched on. Yes, it can actually replicate what you're doing in reporting today, and that's the definition of artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do that a lot with some of our sports narratives, where if you're sitting in a home team area versus the away team, right? It's a different persona that you really want to be talking to. So we've got the ability to do that.
Okay. Yeah, we had a couple of similar questions on that same topic of being able to customize the narrative. I think that's a hot area for people wanting to speak another person's language. So I think that's really good that we're seeing this come through. I'd love to do a giveaway now, if that's okay with you guys. Just letting the audience know that you have to type in #Aria to participate. I see we've got 24 entries in there so far. And just type in #Aria wherever you're joining. If you're on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, or Twitch, which is a new platform I started using recently. I've yet to understand it. I think it's for kids and gamers, but I figured there might be data lovers on there too. Okay, so as people are typing in #Aria, I'll just check in. Ravid says, you guys have a lot of great, unique features. So I agree. I think I'm really looking forward to the demo that Cathy's going to show us in a couple of minutes. All right, I think we've got a couple of more entries. Okay, we hit 30. I'm going to go ahead and run this little giveaway here, and let's see who our first winner is of some Aria swag. I don't have a drum roll yet. That's something I need to add to my office.
That's me.
Oh, there you go. All right, Suha, congratulations. Oh, you even have the target in your name, so that's really cool. We're going to follow up with you on getting you the swag. For those who did not win, please keep playing. Just type in the hashtag Aria. We will select one more winner at the end of the session. But for now, I think it would be really cool to go ahead to Cathy and look at this demo.
Okay, great.
All right. I've got your screen up, so feel free to take it away here.
Okay, great. I'm in a Tableau dashboard, but I could just as easily be in Power BI, TIBCO, Click, any of the other dashboards that we support. But when I'm looking at I'm looking at a line chart, so I'm seeing what the trends were over a particular point in time. Aria's got the ability to automatically generate that narrative, so we can see that it's going to talk about what happened and why it happened. It's also going to look at different time frames. So it knew to look at June through September and talk about June through September as one point of a trend and April to June as another point in the trend. So it's going to pick the time periods to talk about. And then it's got the ability to tell us in detail what's going on. So a number of countries have overall contributed to the rise, though did have some fluctuations during that time period. We added a dimension which happened to be country, but I could have added product, I could have added market to understand what was happening at the country level and how that impacted what was going on. So now you can see how you could take that graph, but you could take that narrative and that could become the foundation of a report or the foundation of the talk track you're using, with your particular audience or with your business stakeholders. So that's trends. We have trend, we have rank, and we have a number of other. I'm going to go into edit mode really quickly. Well, actually, let me go back here. Let's look at another one. I'm going to go back to my showcase projects and look at some more of the apps that we have available. And I'm going to look at the performance analytics app. So within the performance analytics, we can do descriptive statistics. We can do time-based variance. We can also do target-based variance. And if I go into edit, we can see how to configure one of these. And so from a configuration perspective, right, I have the ability to configure an Aria app. I can configure a custom narrative, and we're going to look at Aria Answers in a second, but it's a really simple process. So the first thing I'm going to do is select the data that's important to the narrative. And so I have product, market, we have a date field in there, which is really important to us. The first thing I did was selected which Aria. I logged in and I selected which Aria app I wanted to use. So there are 8 Aria apps right now, but we're getting ready to add 2 additional ones. So if I go into Aria apps, I'm going to select my app. So we have descriptive statistics, we have time-based variance, we have target-based variance, we have trend, ranking, pie chart, bar chart, and line chart. So I'm going to go ahead and select time-based variance for this particular one. We have product market information available to us, as well as from a date perspective, we're looking at a particular quarter in time, and I'm looking at actual sales. I can tell you a little bit about the data. Actual sales is a currency, but maybe I want to call it revenue, right, when it comes out in the narrative. So I'm able to set some thresholds. The next part is options. And this is where the user gets to put in what they want to look at. Do I want to look at latest versus previous period or latest versus earliest period, right? So I've got some options there. Do I want to look at the top 3, the top 4, or do I want to base my base the verbosity of my narration based on coverage. So that's thresholds that we set. And do I want to look at a summary, the important things, or tell me everything? So how verbose is it? So that's how easy it is to set up a narrative within Aria. And you click the button and it becomes very responsive. And so, if I switch years, or if I add another year, right, it's going to recalculate that narrative based on the data that it's sending in. So everything automatically gets updated. So we have a pharmaceutical customer that they figured out that there are 1 million potential narratives as they click and filter things through their dashboard that they can come up with, and we can do that dynamically for users. So as they're experiencing the dashboard, they get to experience the narrative. I know we're running short on time, but the last thing I want to show you is Aria Answers. And when you look at Aria, and when you look at dashboards, why do people, I won't say that, why do people look at dashboards? It's really to get answers to their questions. And so narratives help to answer questions, but we also came up with a tool called Aria Answers. And I know Tableau and the other tools, they'll let you ask questions, they bring back a visual. The key differentiator with Aria is we actually bring back a narrative response, right? A very complete narrative response. So if you go into Answers, the first thing it does is it gives you a list of questions that you can ask. And this one came up for me, and I thought it was particularly cool. Overall target sales by day. So it's going to look at the data it has available and talk about the major outliers. And so on September 15th and 22nd, drove 16.46 million, right, of target sales, or that's where our biggest expectation is from a target sales perspective. But if I wanted to start asking questions, tell me about, I might want to ask about sales, actual sales target. You can set aliases. My column name is actual sales, but I wanted my users to make it, more catered to them, and they may call it sales. I think I also added an alias called revenue, right? And it's all the same thing. So tell me about revenue and I'm going to just pick a product, Karadion, and then France. So now I'm really drilling into my data to be able to ask questions and get responses. So if I wanted to ask about things between a particular time frame, year over year, quarter over quarter, month over month, we have that ability.
Wow, that's really powerful. And we're getting a lot of comments here complimenting the look of the dashboard, the dynamic text. People are really loving that. And we do have questions that came up as well. First, a few questions from me, if you don't mind.
Sure.
You mentioned 8 apps available, 2 coming up. What can we expect in those 2 new apps? I always want to know what's coming next.
Sure. And I think Bryan's going to talk a little bit about that, but outliers.
Okay.
We have a new app that's going to capture outliers and describe them for you in the data that you're sending in. And the other is correlations.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you. In terms of the text that's generated in I think the first example that you showed, can we edit that text? Let's say if we wanted to add a word or two into that text that was generated by Aria NLG, are we able to type that in, or is that hard-coded?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. So our out-of-the-box apps, they come with the narrative that they come with. We do offer professional services where we can go in and make that modification to you. Now, if you want to create a custom project using Studio, you have complete control over, all of the words coming through, and it's fairly easy to set up a Studio project to bring back narrative. So we would probably look at it from the perspective, if it's just one word, maybe we have something custom for you that we set up. If you're in our private cloud environment, we would have the ability to do that. Otherwise we might, look at help walking through how to build something custom so you've got full control.
Okay.
I'd like to add to that some people are going to use this narrative as a base commentary for another report that they're going to build. So there's a copy function right in the dashboard, and they'll paste it into Word. Then they'll tweak it from there.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's cool. Yeah. Sometimes you might want to put that in an email or something, run all your analysis, ask the questions, and then you can copy paste that in an email or in a Word doc, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Perfect. There's a comment here. I'm not sure. It's LinkedIn user, so we don't know who said this, but I love it. This person says that some execs are more text oriented than visually oriented. And this is good for report creation. Oh, it's Mike Nash. Okay, he signed it. Thanks, Mike. I agree. A lot of execs, they love the look of the dashboard, but at the end, they're like, tell me what you need me to know. And so I can go about my day and get back to my day job.
I was at a Tableau conference on the floor talking to a bunch of analysts, walking around, picking people's brains. And I said, is this your process today? Does your executive management team say, just get that out of the dashboard, put it into PowerPoint, and add your commentary there? Yeah. Every one of them says yes. And when I talk to partners, it's the same thing. So yeah, you're right about that. They're going to want that text summary, and you can get this great executive summary right in the dashboard, again, automatically, so that it's on demand, reporting on demand. So you don't have to wait till the end of the month. Your dashboard's plugged into your data set, and they can get it to their phone, right? You got great mobile apps for all these dashboards, great accessibility.
Yeah, I'll add, I think one added benefit to this is we won't have those errors. So when you're frantically trying to get this into the PowerPoint, typing this out, you might, add an extra zero or put the decimal place in the wrong area. That could get you in trouble. I mean, not speaking from personal experience, obviously, but
yeah,
people do that.
We have another customer, Ernst & Young, who provides reports for customers, and they were doing it manually, right? So now they realize they've got to protect their brand. They got to get that consistency all the way across their organization. So they're using the automated techniques of NLG to generate those reports for their customers.
Yeah. And another question for me. So is this Tableau we're looking at? And
yes.
Okay. All right. So how does Aria get in there? You said it's a REST API, or how does it actually?
Yeah. So if I go into edit mode,
yep.
Right, and if I were going to create a sheet, we have an extension that's loaded. That's the Aria extension. Okay. So if I look at my extensions, this is actually an extension. If I created a new sheet, we would just grab import the new extension in.
Okay, got it. All right, thank you. That was my personal curiosity. I grew up with Tableau, so that was my first ever thing I used, and I'm going to actually go ahead and play around with Tableau and Aria after this because it looks really cool. We had a question from Shantala here. Is it possible to combine NLG with sentiment analysis to produce text that aligns with a certain mood? Not sure if we're going too far off the topic here.
Sure. I mean, I'm not sure our out of the boxes do that for you, but with a custom narrative, you would be able to do that. Because what we basically do is we categorize, right? So if the sentiment came in and this person was not happy, you may focus on these three things, right? As opposed to if the data came in saying this person were happy, then we might choose other things to talk about. And that's fairly straightforward to do.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
I'll take this next question from Joseph. It's an easy one. Will this webcast be available afterwards? Yes. Joseph, this will stay on LinkedIn. It'll stay on YouTube. So you will definitely have recordings. You could just watch this exact session after it is done. All right. I'm going to go ahead and just make sure we're not missing any. Oh, yep. We've got another question here from Phil Fry. Can you do a quick architecture overview to show where Aria fits between the data, reporting, and dashboards?
Sure. I don't have the slide handy, but data, reporting, and dashboards. So your data that you're feeding the dashboard for might be coming from SAP, might be coming from SQL, so you've got the data that's coming into the dashboard. We really don't care where that data is coming from. when the Aria plugin is added to the dashboard, you're going to select the underlying data. We're using the native API set from Tableau or Power BI or Click or MicroStrategy to encapsulate the data we need. The filter, as you filter through your dashboard, you're sending the data to Aria, and then Aria is the Aria add-in sends the request to Aria to bring back a narrative to a particular project. I don't know if that helps, but so if you've got Tableau, and Bryan talked about this a little bit, you might have Tableau behind your firewall, and you've got Aria behind your firewall in a private cloud. Then we can easily have your instance of Aria talking to Tableau, wherever it happens to be managed, your private Aria to private Tableau.
Okay, awesome. I think that's very helpful. Thank you, Cathy. Yeah. All right, and Phil says that helps, so that's okay. Good.
All right.
We answered the question. I think it's time to do another giveaway, so I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. Well, actually, I'll give folks another minute to type in #Aria. Make sure you get in there. I think we have about 40 entries right now, so you have a chance of 1 in 40. I'm not going to do the math to win a shirt like Bryan. And in the meantime, I want to quickly go over, Ivan's asked a question, I guess I missed, I'm sorry, but does it offer NLG in Spanish? And we talked about who Aria is a couple times. So Ivan, if you want to watch the recording for part 2 of your question. But yeah, let's address the first part.
Yes, you can write projects in Spanish.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to share the screen. We have our prior winner here, and I'm going to go ahead and click draw again so we can select. Oh, we got another entry as we clicked it. So let's see if that was the lucky winner here. All right, Bryan, you'll do the drum roll here. It actually sounds really good. All right, Ernesto, congratulations. All right, thank you so much for that. I'm going to need to learn how you did that.
Bryan's on saying it, but I think he was a drummer in a band. So
he told me before we started. Yes, that's why you're so good. How did I not put that together? All right. So as we start to wrap up, I do want to talk a little bit about the future. I know we mentioned in the topic description we're going to talk about some top BI trends that you guys have top of mind. So I'd love to hear from you. What can we expect to see in the near future, or maybe in the slightly extended future as well?
It's a great topic. There's a lot of buzz around other types of NLG, like GPT-3. People have probably heard about. It's a different form of artificial intelligence, but there could be some use in that, right? Like it can't work directly with the data today. It's not going to magically create narratives that are usable for business. It creates fiction today. But what it does do is it analyzes sentence structures and offers suggestions in sentence structures. So with the combination potentially with that type of technology and NLG, you could potentially develop some richer narratives. That's not quite a requirement for dashboards because, as somebody mentioned today, executives are looking for that concise summary. And they're pretty much going to want to see that information the same every time they click in. But it adds to some variability, or maybe some of the other customers that we have with maybe product descriptions or even robo-journalism, as we touched on before. Cathy already mentioned we're developing more apps. So these apps get developed because we interact with our customers, we get great feedback, and we learn what their use cases are. So we see the different types of analysis that they need to produce. So that's why we go down this path of creating all these different types of narratives, pre-built NLG models, if you will. But we also have a group of accelerators that are more on the custom end, that are customers who are building custom narratives can use as building blocks. Mm-hmm. So we hope to enable our customers with more of that technology so that everybody's not building things from scratch, but really gleaning off of everybody's expertise and getting that whole crowdsourced type of knowledge for all these different applications. I think also what we're seeing in I think I saw Lindsay pop up before with a question. She's been doing this a lot longer than me. Oh, Cathy's been doing it obviously longer than me too. But it was more of an outbound reach to let people know what natural language generation is. They couldn't even spell NLG, right? Nobody ever heard of NLG. And now we're seeing the inbound. And that's due in part to a couple of things, I think. There's robotic process automation that made a big splash over the last few years, RPA. And so people started getting of that mindset about automation. And RPA historically has been about systems to systems types of automation, but then people's wheels are turning and our partners' wheels are turning to saying, hey, we can develop an end-to-end solution now that gives knowledge to the end user automatically, so they can create, and like I said, end-to-end solutions. And I'm going to show folks in a few moments some resources that we have, and one of our past webinars with a group in Deloitte. They developed some great end-to-end solutions working with the office of the CFO, delivering messages directly to the CFO's phone, so that while she was getting ready for work, while she was preparing and driving to work, she was able to hit the office already being informed as to what needs to be done for the day. Right. So the alerting features is really starting to, or requests are starting to pop up. And we've got lots of different types of technologies that are able to work with Aria NLG to be able to deliver that knowledge to the end user.
That's really powerful. Getting text while you're getting ready of what you need to know.
Yeah, this one's even, they did a podcast. So, based on a threshold that happened in the dashboard, there was an incident that happened in a certain expenditure. And so it triggered a message to her. And then she said, all right, tell me what's happening. And then Arria generated the narrative, and they used text to speech to read the Arria narrative, but read it to her audibly so that she can just get ready to work while it was telling her what was happening.
Oh, wow. That's really good. I can see this working really well if executed properly, or being extremely annoying if not, right? It's like, okay, stop messaging me. Because some of those services that message you nonstop, so it's got to be executed just in the right way to how people want it. And then just a follow-up question for you, Bryan, the apps that we're expecting, right? I think the correlation one and the outliers, when can people expect to see that?
Oh, pop quiz on that one. I'm thinking, and Cathy she's on those notifications too. I think it's imminent. It's like a week or two away.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, nice. Congratulations. That should be exciting.
Yep.
All right, and Cathy, what are you looking forward to in the near future? What trends are you kind of staying on top of?
Yeah, I'm with Bryan, right? I'm looking at sort of the potential to build these apps more quickly, make them really speak the language that executives want on the dashboard, so that we can continue to tweak them and give them exactly what they're looking for.
Okay, perfect. And as we wrap up, my favorite question to end off with is, where can people go to learn more? Where can they go to, contact you to ask you further questions if they have questions on Arria or anything else we talked about today?
Great. So I've got a screen up. Maybe you could share my screen with the audience. Great. So obviously, Arria.com website here. The message I'd like to make everybody clear on is you can get started today. So a lot of people think, wow, digital transformation, artificial intelligence, it's a mind bender. I can't even think about getting started, but we've got these apps ready for you. In fact, if you're looking at the page here, you see I'm on the page with Technology Suite. So if you go to Arria.com, you can hover over Technology Suite. You can go to Arria for BI. I pulled up the Power BI page already. And if you scroll down towards the bottom, we've got some online dashboards, so you don't even have to install anything. You can just start experimenting with these and clicking through the different filters to see what the narratives generate. But they're also available to download, so you can actually work through the Power BI desktop. And then as well as you can get started, did I pass the screen? Yeah. You can actually download the extension and use it in your own dashboard today. So there's no credit card required. Just go ahead, click your free trial. It's going to just ask, a little information about you, and then it's going to show you how to download that, and you can add this to your dashboard today. So that's a huge message. Additionally to that, if you're looking to go down this NLG journey, we have a full enablement package for all of our customers, and we do a lot of that with live instructor-led training as well as Arria Academy. So I already mentioned that our two chief scientists are still leading a PhD program in NLG. We're very interested in continued education for the world about natural language generation, especially around how to use our technology. So we can, get you enrolled in some courses at Aria Academy. So
Perfect.
Two things to get started right away, right? You can get a download of the extensions, start playing with it right today with your data, and then Aria Academy.
I love it. I especially love when companies provide a free trial without a credit card. It's just so much better. People are actually going to go and try this, right?
Yeah.
So thanks for providing that. And Cathy, where's the best place to find you and follow up after the session?
Yeah, I'm at Cathy.Herbert@aria.com.
There you go. Straightforward. Email Cathy, everybody. Awesome. Well, I want to thank you both so much. Ivan here says it was a great session. I agree. I always learn so much when I have these dedicated shows. So I really appreciate you both making the time and sharing your knowledge with the audience and taking all of the questions that we threw at you. So I really, really appreciate that. And for those who are listening, thank you so much for asking those questions. I highly encourage you to go ahead and follow Aria. Go ahead and get that free trial. And congratulations again to the two winners. We're going to follow up with you on how to get your swag. All right, Bryan and Cathy, thank you again. I wish you a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Be safe, everybody.
Okay.
Yes. Bye.